Awesome. All right, thanks, David. So, hey, everybody, it's Matt Choi here. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm from Toronto. It's a scorching hot day here today. Hope everyone is enjoying their summer temperature there. So, thank you so much for joining me here today. And of course, David, thanks again for having me here at your special event this week. Let's get started. Now, it's going to be pretty brief presentation for me today, probably about 45 minutes or so. I don't see me going past any longer into the evening. There are a lot of great indicators out there. I'm just listening to Harry the past hour here. I'm talking about the ones that are more micro-oriented, intraday, looking at pendants, technicals, and whatnot. And today I'm going to share with you a more of a macro indicator, one that takes a step back and gives us a nice bird's eye view of the underlying stock that you're looking at, and allow us to find swing trading opportunities. So trades that last anywhere from a few weeks to a couple of months, a longer time frame. Now, you may have already seen the profit scheduler software in action. And today, I want to dive a little deeper and show you how to maximize this usage for your own trading. And if you're new to the software, you will be able to learn exactly what it does for you as well. And after that, if you're still with me, I'm going to show you how to get access to it. One second. There we go. So, quick disclaimer before we begin, this presentation is for education only. It's not to be considered investment advice. Never trade with capital that you cannot afford to lose. Now, when I saw this, I knew I had to put it on a slide. This pretty much sums up what I want to talk about today. Let that sink in for a second. The point is, we repeat our actions all the time without even knowing it, right? We repeat our actions all the time without even knowing it. Let me give you some everyday examples. Now, I don't know about you, but I tend to go to the same Starbucks all the time. Even if there's one closer by, I still go back to the same store. I don't know. My wife always says maybe it's because of the parking, or maybe it's because I know many of the people who works there. I don't know, but for whatever reason, I tend to go back to the same place. And I'm one of those pain in the butt customers who orders a coffee with a very long name. Venti vanilla soy latte, extra shot, less foam, extra hot, please. Another habit that I have is taking the same route every day to get my kids to school. Now, that's over 200 days a year for many, many years, right? Now, I know where all the potholes are on the road. I know when the lights turn green. And of course, I know where all the police are hiding as well. Another thing I do is my wife and I have been going to the same supermarket called Loblaws here in Toronto, Canada for years. And the shopping list is pretty much the same all the time, right? Now, honestly, spinach is not really my thing, but we got to have the Rocky Roads in the freezer. Now, this was the winning play at the Super Bowl. The Chiefs were down by 3 with 9 seconds left in overtime. Wide receiver at the top there circled, he would start his run faking to come in, following arrow number 1. Then, after the snap, he dashes back out wide to catch the football for the touchdown, following arrow number 2. Now, if you watch any football at all, you and I have probably seen this play over and over again, hundreds of times. Doesn't matter. Like when I played high school football, we use this play. College football, they use this exact same play all the time. In fact, the Chiefs actually used the same play to beat the Eagles in the previous season. No surprises, right? But yet, the same play continues to work perfectly. Again, it just shows how repetition is super effective, especially when it is executed properly. I think I came up with this quote, so I'm going to claim it as mine anyway. When actions get repeated day after day, week after week, year after year, the results of those actions become predictable most of the time. Now, for me, I feel that human beings love repetition. It's in our DNA. We want it, we crave it. It makes us comfortable. It keeps us grounded. Repetition becomes habits, right? We always talk about that as traders. And most importantly, repetition makes things more predictable. And that goes for stocks as well. Now, for example, every year during the holiday season, we have retail stocks repeatedly performing better than other times of the year, right? You've got product launches and earnings being the constant driver, for tech stocks. For example, Apple moves the most when they launch a new gadget. And then Tesla, when they launch a Cybertruck mainstream, To the mass market, it moves the stock. Tax seasons, trigger specific investor behaviors. Same with quarterly portfolio rotation, which we're seeing right now in the markets, right? And of course, we can't forget the Fed meetings. Their money supply and interest rate policies often jumpstart or they kill the market. Like what we're seeing in transition right now with the Fed, right? Now, and again, when all of these combined factors are repeated on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a weekly basis, they influence investors and traders in a very predictable way, which in turn creates repeating patterns for stocks. So let me show you what I mean. Now, some of you guys have seen this on my newsletters before, through email or on a live webinar and so forth. The first chart there you see on the screen is Cintas, symbol CTAS. So the company does the business uniforms, the floor mats, cleaning supplies, and so forth. Now, what the bar chart is telling us is that between July 2nd and September 20th, the stock moved up 14 of the past 15 years, which is about 93% of the time. And on average, the stock moved up 9.56% during each of those 15 years, including the averaging that losing year back in 2011. The graph also tells us that since 2012, it has actually moved up 12 straight years. So that's pretty consistent and effective, right? Now notice that if you look at all the green bars there on the screen, they all have a very short tail at the bottom, right? Below the break-even line, below the zero line. And that means there has been very little drawdown during this period from July to September for Cintas. Okay, that makes sense? Now, bottom chart there is AstraZeneca, symbol AZN, big pharma company, right? Between February 7th and April 21st, the stock traded up 27 of the past 30 years, okay? 90% of the time during that time frame. And on average, the stock moves up about 7.03% each time. When we see this kind of consistency, right, we got to find a way to take advantage of it, okay? So next is American Financial Group, symbol AFG on the top right there. Between early October 2nd to be exact, and December 26th, the stock has been bullish 14 of the past 15 years with an average up move of 8.27% each year. A very long stock, obviously, during the fourth quarter. Finally, the bottom right there, Intuit, symbol INTU. We all know the software. The stock has been bullish for 20 of the past 22 years between May 7th and July 29th. On average, it moves up 10.28%. Okay, in fact, again, since 2012, the stock has moved up 12 straight years. All right, so powerful stuff. So what the software does is that it gives us an edge to find the right stock to trade right now during the period that you're looking at. Let me show you a few ways to use this data. It's going to have a huge impact on your trading. Okay. Now, most of you know me already, so I'm going to keep this very, very short for you. The only thing I'm adding here over the past couple of years is my new role as a hockey dad. My son plays AAA hockey at the highest level in the same league that Connor McDavid and Wayne Gretzky played when they were kids. And I got to tell you, this is more intense. The hockey is more intense than even like day trading. We're there at the rink during the season at least 5 to 6 times a week. And I guess we do it because, sports, just like trading, we need to have discipline. And that's what I'm trying to instill into my son, the accountability, and to have the perseverance, right? To do well as a team, as a teammate. And I always tell my son after a game, you either win or you learn, right? And the same principle applies, to trading 100%, right? And speaking of being disciplined, as a chartered market technician or CMT, my primary trading method is technical analysis. And the reason I prefer technicals is because it allows me to find repetitive patterns, just like the ones that I showed you. So when I see a stock like AstraZeneca, right, that moves up 27 of the past 30 years, is a repetitive pattern, right? Then for me personally, because this approach is based on data, there's no hesitation, there's no emotions, there's no, analysis paralysis that we always talk about. I just try to follow the rules and keep it simple, right? And over the years, I've taught many traders how to do the same. And, being a rule-based trader, I don't need to be sitting in front of my screen all day long. I just wait for notifications and a setup, and I look to see if the trade is feasible. And outside of trading, I have other businesses in different fields. I love to travel with my family. Love to be at the rink with my kid, and I love to spend time with my family. And the way I trade allows me to do all that, without being stressed, for time, and always needing to be in front of the screen trading. So here's what we're doing today. First, I'm going to show you 3 different ways of using the Profit Scheduler software. It's going to have a huge impact on your trading. 1, I use it to confirm or reject a signal. Okay, so if the software gives me a yes, I'll take a trade. If it gives me a no, then I'll walk away. Then say you got an idea from a friend or your trading partner, run it through the software to see if it is legit. 2, I use the software to find trades fast. It really helps me filter out all the junk, and it gives you details on what to trade and when to trade it. And hearing from a few of my students who have been using the software for some time, they reduce their scanning time by 80% each week. 3, get to know your favorite stocks, when to trade them, right? I looked at just previously, Cintas, AstraZeneca, American Financial, Intuit, right? Get to know like a basket of stocks, 30 or 40 of them, and that's all you need. You find specific periods for each of those stocks, and you get yourself over 100, 120 trades a year, swing trades, right? And that's what you want. You want to be specializing and know these stocks intimately. So that's the idea of point number 3 there, specializing in your favorite stocks, right? Okay, and then if you're still with me after that, I'll show you how to access the Profit Scheduler software today. All right, so let's get right into it. So one way I use the software, again, is to confirm or reject a signal. When I come across a technical setup on a chart, I'll run it through the software to see what the stock is going to do in the coming weeks or months ahead. And if it aligns with the setup, then I'll take the trade. If not, then I'll probably stay on the sideline and may even go the other way depending on the situation, right? So let's take a look and see how this works. Las Vegas Sands, symbol LVS. So check out the LVS chart, daily chart here from May the 7th, okay? So the stock is in an uptrend. Obviously, it looks very clear. And I was looking for a pullback to go long the trade, okay? So it looks like I got an entry point here at about 62.20. And I run it through the software. And before getting into a trend trade, just to give it one more checkpoint, right? So let's see what it tells me. It might be hard to see on your screen, but hear me out here. From the beginning of May to the end of June, over the past 15 years, the stock has actually been very bearish. In fact, it went down 12 of the past 15 years between May and June, which is 80% of the time. On average, it drops about 6.38% during these 2 months. Okay, so no matter how great the chart looks, I'm not going to get into a bullish situation here, right? You could construct a bearish play, short the stock using the options or using options to play it. But at the very least, we stay on the sidelines, right? When there's conflicting information like this, we don't want to be taking a trade, okay? So let's see how this turned out. So right after we checked the software, by the end of June, the stock actually dropped about $5, from 62 down to 58.53. About 5.9%, which is very close to the average drop of 6.38% over the past 15 years. And then over the next few months, the stock dropped even further down to 45.84. Really dodged the bullet here this time, and thanks to the software, just giving me a quick warning and to stay out of trouble. Right, AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, chip company. So here, it's the daily chart for AMD on October 26. Okay, so the stock clearly broke below the trend line, right? Looking very bearish, and I was looking for a bearish trade. So the next step for me is to check the profit schedule to see how the stock typically performs. Let's say from late October over the next quarter or so into Christmas and then into January. So what it tells me is that, it might be a little small for you guys to see on the screen, but you can get a good picture with the bar graph there, all the green bars. So what it is telling me is that over the past 20 years, the stock has been bullish from October through January, 17 of the 20 years. That's 85% of the time. All right. Not only that, the average move for this stock in Q4 is up 16.56%, over 16% up move on average over the past 20 years to the upside. So no matter how bearish the chart looks, I'm not going to go short here, even though it's very tempting, right? So let's see how this turned out. So shortly after October 28th, the stock turned up and broke above the trend line. So it became bullish actually. So that's when we followed the data and we went long AMD using a simple January call spread, and it was easily doubling the money. Okay. So again, you're using this to confirm or reject the signal without any subjective kind of opinion here, right? You're trusting the data. If it conflicts, you stay out. If it supports, then you go in, right? So here's a second way, and the most popular way that I use the software on a weekly basis. Usually on the weekend, I will look for my setups, for the upcoming week. One big thing for me is to be able to quickly filter out stocks, and find trades as quickly as possible. Okay, I don't mind flipping through charts, but a lot of times, we just don't have the time, right, to be sitting in front of the screen. So with this, a few clicks, the profit scheduler helps me narrow down from hundreds of optionables, down to probably a handful or a dozen or so that we need to look through. So let me show you how to do that. So for example, here's a quick one, Church and Dwight. So with the software, I can quickly find a basket of stocks, okay? So I'm just highlighting one that's among a bigger list, right? So here are the search parameters that I punch in, right? If you look at that kind of zoomed in box at the top there in the orange or yellow box there, okay? So I'm looking for a January start date, right? A trend or a period of time that begins in January, okay? I want to look back 15 years of data. I want the minimum stock price to be about $20 or higher. I don't want anything that is cheaper than 20 bucks, okay? I'm looking for stocks that are bullish over a 30 to 85 day period, all right? So that's about 1 to 3 months. That's one of my favorite trading time frames. And I want to see if there are stocks that have gone up 15 years straight, right? Over the past 15, I'm looking for a perfect win record to the upside over the past 15 years. So here's Church and Dwight. Basically what the Zoom data there tells you is that between Jan 27 and April 17th, the stock moved up every year, okay, during this time. And on average, it moves up 8.64%, 8.64%. Okay, now this is great. I like it. It helps me filter down to a manageable number of stocks to look at when I'm looking for setups. But still, you have to check the charts. You have to check the news. We're not taking this blindly. I don't care what the software says. You still have to understand, right? Check the news. Is earnings coming up? Is there any scandals happening with the company? Any merger and acquisition coming up? Right? You have to know all that about a stock. I don't care what you trade, right? You have to know what it is doing, right? But we go to the chart on January 27th for CHD, for Church and Dwight. Stock is consolidating, showing an increased, volatility there a little bit. It's above the trend line. It broke above the trend line, okay, which is positive, right? And there's a possibility that it'll ride up and fill the gap at about 90 in that area. All right, the current price is about 79.55. So let's see what it does over the next few months. January to April 17th. That's the period that we're looking at. The stock moved up to $90, exactly what we were looking for to fill the gap there technically, about 12% move. And when you access the software and find these opportunities, you can buy the shares, of course, or you can use options, whatever your preference. It doesn't really matter, right? So the trade took less than 5 minutes to find. And to me, it's the time saving, right? It's not, there are a lot of ways to find trades, different techniques that work. But for me, having a tool like this that is objective, we're using real data. We're not using a, red dot, green dot to tell you buy or sell. It's actual real data, that we're siphoning through, right? And whatever I do needs to be fast and repetitive, like I said before. All right, so here's CF Industry, another one that we're looking at. So again, same idea. I'm looking for, in this case, a July start. We're right in there right now. 15 years of data, minimum price 20. And I'm looking at a period between 30 to 85 days. And I want the stock to be at least 90% accurate. 90% accurate. Doesn't have to be perfect. I want the majority of the time when the stock trades up. Okay, so CF Vista Bill, on average, the stock actually moves up 14% between July and end of September. All right, so let's see what the chart says though. Again, it broke above the trend line, July 6th. And does it go up over the next few months? right? We don't need a complex algorithm to figure it out. Trend line breaks, we use the data, right? We keep it very simple. Okay, so fast forward to September 28th, the stock actually moved up 24%, right? Again, some bought the shares, some of my students, and some leveraged using an option spread. Okay, whatever pleases you, whatever your trading method, it doesn't really matter. The key is to be consistent with your approach and your risk management. All right, let's look at a bearish one. The other side, Wynn Resort, symbol WYNN. This is one of my favorite trades here. They say sell in May and go away. Is that true or just a myth, right? Who cares? Let the data tell you what it's true, right? So with a quick search, it shows that many stocks are bearish. In May, I highlighted the one that's for Wynn. Basically, for Wynn from May 10th to June 24th, about a month and a half or so, the stock chased down 13 of the past 15 years, about 87 of the time. It's 87% of the time. And on average, it goes down 6.73%. Okay, during this time. So again, we check the chart to see if it makes sense. That's May 10th. The stock has an ascending wedge, okay, on an uptrend. Technically, if you talk to any technical traders, okay, like myself, they'll tell you this is it's almost a reversal. Okay, you see that the stock cannot break through the top at about 115. It tried it 4 times, right? And now it looks to be coming down. Okay, at the very least, it's flat. All right, so let's see what the stock does over the next month and a half. Down 5.7%, bearish as suggested by the software. Okay. Scott's Miracle Grow, symbol SMG. Okay. Another bearish one. May 19th to June 29th, the stock goes down 13 of the past 15 years, on average about 4.5% for this blue chip. Okay, doesn't seem like to be a lot, but for a slow-moving company like SMG and for a blue chip company over a span of a month and a half is pretty solid. Okay, let's look at the chart. May 19th, the stock has retraced from a high, May 19th, there, and we're looking for the stock to continue its downtrend after some consolidation. All right, let's see how it turns out. May 19th to June 29th, the stock continued to move down slowly, 11% during this period. Again, for most of us, it's cumbersome to short a stock like SMG. You may not be able to even borrow it from your broker. So using options is a fantastic way to play the short side. Okay. Here's another bullish one, Booking.com, BKNG. So I use Booking quite a bit. In fact, we just booked a short trip using Booking. A pretty nice site, pretty easy to use. So initial shorts is 15 years. Okay, and I want to look at patterns and check out if the pattern actually goes beyond 15. So if you click on that oval BKNG word there, it will keep digging. The software will keep digging and see if the perfect record goes beyond 15. And sure enough, over the past 17 years, the stock has gone straight up between November 27th and February 20th. So during Q4 into Q1, for the past 17 years, the stock has been bullish every year for the past 17 years. On average, it went up about 13% normally during this time. All right, so here's the graph that kind of depicts what I just said. All right, so this one is pretty strong. For whatever reason, I can't tell you exactly what the reason is, other than we have strong demand of the stock, more so than supply during that time. I can't tell you why the stock goes up. It just does. We just have to trust the number and the data. Right? Like Harry said the previous hour, we don't know why the stock goes up. All we know is that supply is more than demand. That's why the stock goes up. Okay. So November 28th, right? The stock is above the trend line. Again, that is good enough for me to take a trade. Okay, stock was trading at 1984. By February 20th, it's up 20%. So we really shouldn't be surprised by this kind of result. It happens to hundreds of stock every year. They all have their own characteristics, their own time frame of when they move up and down, right? Just based on constant supply and repetitive buying of the stock over the same period of time every year. All right, let's do one more. Cooper Company, symbol COO, right? It's a medical device company based out of California. So from December 14th to March the 4th, the stock has been bullish the past 15 years straight. On average, it moves up about 14%, 13.99 to be exact. Now, the box at the bottom contains all the details, such as the net gain or loss, the entry price, the exit price. So if you want all those details, you have those. Okay, you can get that into Excel. All right. And then you have the where the arrow is pointing. That's the bar graph that I showed you earlier. Actually, the visual format is really important for me, right? If you were to zoom in here, I want you to look at the orange line that's across the middle there. Look at how short those tails are for those green bars. Again, it shows me that during pretty much Christmas to through Q1 each year, the stock doesn't there's barely any drawdown, right? With the stock, it always pulls up, during that time. Okay, so if you look at 2008, I put this chart here for a reason. If you look at 2008, the stock was super bullish, right? It went up over 60% or so. So you got to kind of discount that, right? Because it's not normal. It's an outlier, right? So if you take that out, on average, the stock moves up about 7.5%, 8%, which is a very reasonable and respectable number, right? So again, you want to remove those outliers when you see them, so you can be more realistic, with your analysis. Okay, not rocket science, right? So here's what happened to COO from December. It broke above the trend line, ready to rock. You can see that it gapped above the trend line, right where the two long green bars are, the bullish green bars. When anytime it gaps above a trend line, folks, side lesson here, right? The stock is pretty bullish, right? So you wait for a pullback a little bit after that jump, and then you can get in. Right. So what happened between December 14th and early March? Stock went up about 7%. Right? Not a lot. Kind of exactly fell into what we were expecting, for the stock, right? So again, I love using option spread to trade this. It just reduces risk. It normalizes your initial investment, right? Anytime you use a spread, you can kind of adjust the number of spread you do based on your risk allocation per trade. Okay, so very straightforward here. I love this picture here as well. I always tell my students, right, early in my trading career, I've always thought of trading as me, needing to beat Wall Street, right? Kind of like David versus Goliath. But over the years, I kind of realized that it's not the case. I don't have that stress anymore, right? Yeah, it might, beating Wall Street might be a good marketing pitch, right? But it's not the goal. It's not the goal here, folks. Okay. Instead, I realized the key is to figure out what other people are doing, what the smart money they're doing, what the bulk of the money is doing, and just copy them. Yes, copy them. Figure out their pattern, figure out their habits, copy what they do, ride their coattail. And once I was able to have that mindset, that's when I started to win the majority of the time. All right. So again, copy and paste. Using a software like this, like the Profit Scheduler software, you can find what the bulk of the money is doing during a specific time frame for stocks, and you can copy what they're trying to do. All right, be it volume, chart patterns, seasonality, it doesn't matter. Our job is to find those patterns and copy them, which is what the software does for us. All right, so third way to use the software, we all have our favorite stocks to trade, right? There's stocks that you and I talk about at the dinner table a lot of times, right? It might be Apple, it might be Netflix, it might be Nvidia now, who knows, right? Everybody's different. For me, I watch about 20 to 30 stocks all the time. I use options to trade them short term, medium term, and I'm familiar, with the direction of their movements during a specific time frame of the year, right? I kind of know how much they normally move. I know how they behave at, support and resistance levels. I know how they would jump or not jump at earnings. Just know them intimately, right? I just track them all year long, right? I have the notepad that just say, hey, it's July, this stock typically moves up, so I kind of watch it to see if there's an entry there. All right, so you can do the same, right? So with the software, I can put in a symbol. So let's say in this case, I put in ADP, one of my favorite stocks to trade, and it'll tell me when the most bullish or bearish periods are to trade for the stock. Okay, I like to look at 10 to 15 years of history. And my preference is a swing trade about 30 to 45 days. Okay, I want to see all the bullish periods of the year that has a 90% higher or higher accuracy rate. So here we are. At the top left here, where the orange arrow is pointing, it shows that ADP is bullish from June 27th to July 28th. Okay, so write this down. It might be hard for you to see. June 27th to July 28th. 14 of the past 15 years. On an average, the stock moves up 5.53% during this 31-day period. Okay, the green arrow also tells us that the stock is bullish from late October into mid-December as well. So there are two periods for ADP during the year that are positive. Okay, June to July, and also from October into Christmas timeframe, Santa Claus rally. Okay, so here's ADP last year from June to July. June 27th, it was trading at a base at a support level at 215. Right, you always want to check the chart, like I was telling you before. Right, the chart looks stable. All right, you can actually go long the stock, and you can have a very tight stop. The tight stop can be just below the orange line. So if it reaches the orange line, you're out. So you have a very well-defined support, the risk-reward ratio that you're looking at. Okay, and fast forward to July 28th, the stock shot back up, basically bounced off support, right, up about 15%. Right, so now let's look at the other bullish window for ADP. From October 29th to December 11th, the stock also moves up about 5.09% around late October, so almost, let's say, Halloween into Christmas time. All right. On average, a stock would have 2 to 3 bullish periods a year and 1 to 2 bearish. So think about that. Each stock can have, if you have a stock having 2 to 3 bullish opportunities a year and 1 to 2 bearish, let's say you have 3 to 4 for each stock. You multiply that by about 30 stocks, there is your 150-ish trading opportunities a year, right? So, if you want to trade more day trading, what Harry showed us during the last hour, that's fantastic, right? But if you have a full-time job, if you can't be at the screen all the time, if there are other stuff that you do in your life, right? This might be a better way, right, to handle your trading. It might be a different method. There's no perfect method. It depends what suits your lifestyle. Okay. So again, in this case, October, the stock is falling hard, right? Falling back right to that orange line at about 215. Hit the target, comes back down. Now, what you can do is you can wait for the stock to settle a little bit, right? Instead of trying to catch a falling knife, right? Or you can go in now and have a pretty tight stop. Either way it works, right? There's no perfect answer here, right? So a couple days after October 29th, the stock actually hit support and it promptly bounced up into December 11th, and the stock went up 8.3%, a little more than the average of 5.03. Okay, I have probably many students who have become masters of about 30 to 50 stocks. They all have different stocks that they like, right? I got one guy who works in the pharma business, right? And he decides, okay, I want to be able to trade, 5 or 6 of these big pharma stocks, right? So it depends on what, like for me, I prefer to trade stocks that I have no connection with, right? If I was working in one industry, I'd probably prefer not to trade that stock because, I'm more attached to it, right? I'm more attached to it for whatever reason. Maybe I think I know more about that industry than anybody else, which is probably not true, right? So again, using data keeps your emotions and your own bias away from your own trading. Okay. So, all right, let's move on to how to access the profit scheduler. So when you log into Certus Trading, the account, you can click on the access button. and then a very usual annoying agreement box will pop up. Just read that, check it off, and then click on the Access Now button, and you get in. Once you get into the software, the first thing you need to do is click on a tutorial, right? And watch all the videos I've made for you to learn how to use the software properly. There's an FAQ section, there's a glossary section to help you get familiar with the lingo. And if you need help, just click on support button and send in your question. All right, the message box there in the where the other arrow is pointing to the left side is a box where I communicate with you when you log in. If there's any downtime to the software, if we're doing an upgrade, it will actually be populated there, and okay, we're down for an hour, overnight, then you know exactly when not to use it. Okay, and now you're all set to go. All right. So what the software is not, as great as the software is, right? You have to keep in mind, right? There are limitations with any software, right? Number one, it doesn't give you trade recommendation, right? This is a data and an analysis tool, and you need to do some work, right? So it filters out all the junk. You get a handful of stock to trade, but you got to, like I said, check the news, check the charts, and whatnot. And again, like any other signals, it's not perfect, right? There will be times when a stock goes against the norm, right? Anytime, if Jerome Powell decides to, raise interest rates now, 100 basis point, right? Then I'm sure that we'll see the market tank, right? Policies, you got geopolitical conflicts, right? Can change fast. So don't count on, any one method 100%. In fact, if you do use the software, right, that's the most useful thing you can do for yourself is, in addition to finding bullish setup, like I showed you earlier, find also bearish setup and simultaneously trade them. So they together, they would act as good hedges, against each other. Okay. Now, over the past few months, a lot of my students have been using the software, and it's for people who want more of a fact-based software, right? You need to do some work. It's not without work, right? It's not, I'm not giving you a green dot to buy and a red dot to sell. It's none of that, right? If you're the type of trader who wants to do a little bit of work, you want to understand the stock that you're trading, you want to know the stocks that you're trading intimately, that's for you. If you don't, it's not for you. Okay, it's for those of you who want to master your knowledge, like I said earlier, of specific stocks. Right? I've got financial advisors using this software. Right? They actually use this to support their consulting work, with their clients. Right? It's for traders who want to become more DIY. Okay? Do it yourself and be able to formulate your own opinion. Okay? And for those of you who love to get alerts, from educators and from traders, that's fantastic, right? So you won't need the software at the moment, right? It's for people who want to kind of do some work yourself. Okay, make sense? All right, so the retail price for the software over at my website, TradeOutLoud.com, is $2,997 per year. For everyone here at the Timing Research event, you're not going to pay this retail price list the price here. I have a special membership price for you. Just bear with me for a minute. Now, here's what you will get with the chartered membership that I have for you. Okay, you get 1 year of individual license. It is a browser-based technology, so there's no software for you to download, and you can access it from any computer, anywhere. And the license is for up to 40 years of data for NYSE stock and for NASDAQ listed symbols. Okay, so tiny exchanges, I don't have that here. Okay, it's for the big exchanges, the two most popular exchanges, up to 40 years of data. Okay, and you have as a chartered member, you will have access to all the advanced features, okay, including you can scan the confirm or reject signals, you can find a basket of stocks, and you can pinpoint the best trading timeframes for individual stocks that you want to trade. You can filter out, just only do optionable stocks only. You can scan for both bullish and bearish scans. And for the chartered membership, you also get the bar graph and the data table display that I showed you earlier. You get tutorials, you get the email support, and you have unlimited software upgrades. Okay, so that's what the package comes in. For any viewers here today, you're not going to pay $29.97. It's going to be $9.97 per year. Okay, for everybody who is here today, I've created 10 memberships for that. So that's over $2,000 off the retail price. I made sure that the price is low enough so that you can recoup this possibly, with only a couple of trades. All right. So if you're interested, you can go to certustradeing.com/PSSCM. So Profit Scheduler Software Chartered Membership, PSSCM. And you can sign up and you get your username and your password right away, and then you can use the software immediately. Okay. So I've had this software launched for a few months now. So I don't have a lot of testimonials, but I do have a few students who have been using it, and they have been sending me their feedback, and I want to just read a few of them to you, so you get an idea of what you're getting and how they use it and whatnot. So here's David. He trades primarily butterfly option spreads. Probably one of my top 20 students I've taught over the past 10 years or so. If not, he's one of the most meticulous traders in terms of making sure the data and analysis are lined up properly. It's clean, as in his words. And he said, as an aircraft engineer for over 30 years, I'm very picky with my data and tools to be transparent and precise. The Profit Scheduler is exactly that, and it has made my trading more effective. David, he lives in Florida, and he recently became a grandpa. And then I have Eddie. Ed is from Utah. He's retired, and he trades mostly in the money vertical spreads. For those of you who are options guru here, mostly on blue chips. And he said, I've bought many black box trading programs in the past, and they never worked as advertised. The Profit Scheduler software uses real data and produces expected results. And I've been finding opportunities on a weekly basis, and so far, over 80% of them have been bang on. Like I said earlier, the software is not perfect, but for Ed, 80% is pretty good. Tyler, he is actually a money manager. Like I said, I have many financial advisors who are my students. He has a pretty big portfolio, and he does mostly mid to large cap stocks for his clients, and he's in the Philly area. And he said, I am a mid to large cap CFM. I believe CFM means Certified Financial Manager. With over 100 million asset under management, I've incorporated the Profit Scheduler data into my research for about 6 months, especially with timing entries and exits for equities. I do expect a 10 to 15% increase in year-over-year ROI with my main client portfolio, which is a huge win. This is an incredible tool and a must-have for all money managers. Again, I've quite a few financial advisors, probably close to 100, I would say. And I tell you that all of them who are with me are pretty good, and they get above market return for their clients. They have probably a couple of things in common. One, they're not paper pushers. They don't just sell stocks based on what their bank tells them to do. And two, they are meticulous and in sync, with the markets, and they are kind of forever students, and they don't take anything for granted. So I love what they do, and I love their tenacity, when it comes to tackling the markets to get an edge, over their competitors. Okay, Lucas. What can I say about Lucas? He lives in Dubai now. He used to be from the States, and he's a 5 handicap golfer. He does a lot of credit spreads where he would do bull put spreads on stock that have bottomed or about to move up. He also sells a lot of covered calls against his stock portfolio. And he wrote, I love the simplicity of the Profit Scheduler software. It saves me a ton of time getting 2 to 3 grade A stocks each week. Again, the time saving part really hits home for me. As I mentioned earlier, my kid plays a lot of sports, and I have and having the efficient tools to find trades has really allowed me to spend time with him, and my family as well. All right, Chris lives out west. He's a former Olympian. He's one of those who wakes up at 5 a.m. Pacific time to watch the market opens. He does really well with vertical spreads on momentum stocks. And he said, since using the Profit Scheduler, I'm very in tune with the stocks that I churn regularly. The data tells me when my stock will move. The biggest thing for me is I'm now super confident when taking a trade, knowing the data behind it. All right. So again, here's the link one more time to be part of the Chartered membership program and to be an early adopter of the Profit Scheduler software. You'll be one of the first traders officially using it. And again, at $9.97, I'm hoping that the cost is so low that you can recoup this, with a couple of trades. All right, so I'll leave you with this. I love quotes. I'll leave you one of my favorite, probably top 3 of all time, for sure. The Greek philosopher Aristotle from 384 BC said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." Isn't that so true? Right? Having the knowledge and discipline to trade patterns that repeat over and over again, is the key to success. Not just in the market, right? I mean, you look at the Olympics that are happening right now, right? How many hours? How many hours have those gymnasts, been working on their craft? Right? I don't care what sport you play. Track and field. How many 100 meters? Has Usain Bolt run in his life, right? Like thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of times, actually. Think about that, right? So, again, my students have used it. They've proven that to be a very good tool. I use it personally. And now you can have this power and use it anytime you want as well. So David, and to all your subscribers, thanks for tuning in. And regardless of whether you become a chartered member or not today, I hope you learned something new about trading and patterns today. All right, have a great week and enjoy the rest of the show here today. Thank you.